Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me just make sure I am up. It looks I'm seeing green all around, so I'm going to take it as an act of faith that I'm rocking and rolling. I'm seeing myself in my peripheral vision moving. Good. The world is good. Guys, first, like I've been doing recently, I want to thank all of you for all of this, the support. Thank you for all of the donations, either through Patreon or Super Cash or Super Chat. And, thank you for watching the videos in general. Thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for liking the videos. Hell, if you didn't like the video, thank you for still watching. Fuck it. I appreciate it. That's my point. I couldn't sleep well last night, or I didn't sleep well last night. And I think when I finally dozed off, I remember that they were having the conversation. The last thing I remember was Rand Paul showboating, saying that he didn't want to raise the deficit by any measure, apparently, and bringing everything to a stop. Meaning they thought they had the Senate pretty much sewed up. And you had this situation where Rand Paul gets out there and is showboating. People are pissed off. People are angry at him. People are giving him mean and dirty looks. Look, on issues of war, Rand Paul has principles. On other stuff, Rand Paul would be perfectly happy giving trillions of dollars to the top 1% while at the same token letting everybody else starve. So it's not a principal position in the case where you're just working for the 1%. That being said, he was out there showboating. I wake up this morning and I find there's a deal. There's a deal. House Democrats finally agree on a deal. Sweeping new deal for 2 years. House Democrats have agreed. Donald Trump signed it like 5 in the morning or something like that. It's a wrap. We're done. I have a question, though. Just one question. What about DACA? What about DACA? Your party shut the government down. Understand what I'm saying. You brought the government to a halt. We're bringing this shit to a halt. In my head, it's that the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man on a train, on a subway train, with his web slinging out. Bring this shit to a stop. That was you. That was you. 3 days later, maybe give a day or so, we quit. We resign. We give. He's twisted my arm. We give. Make resistance. Why did you shut it down in the first place? Why? What was the point? I mean, if you knew that in 3 days you were going to open it up again, there's no way that your range of action and your range of thought processes, meaning of the party itself, just goes a day in advance. All right, we shut it down. Let's keep it riding. Keep it going. Keep it going. One more day. One more day. Why did you shut it down? Shutting it down gives across this level of gravity associated with this issue. This issue mattered to us so much that we're willing to bring it all to a halt for this particular issue. Hell, we have 80% of the American public behind us. We're willing to bring it to a halt if we're going to protect these kids. I agreed with you on that. I think you should protect those kids. I think of anybody, the philosophical responsibility, hell, the ethical responsibility for the way that you guys lay on this idea of identity belongs to you and your party. You brought it to a halt. Why? I shut the government down and all I got was a stupid t-shirt. My point in this is that if you're willing to do this, if you're willing to bring it to a halt, why do you restart it in this way? Then immediately after restarting it, you take it off the table. Off the table. We're going to come to a budget negotiation, but DACA, the thing that just a few days ago that we shut the government down over, that's off the table. So first, there was a fail. I shut the government down and all I got was a stupid t-shirt. My name is Chuck Schumer. First failure. Second failure is reopening the government without getting that particular thing. Didn't get DACA. That was the reason you shut it down. You didn't get it. Taking it off the table was the second failure. The first failure was restarting without getting it back and without assurances. Second failure, the restarting it and taking it off the table entirely. Literally taking on the Republican argument as to why DACA is not going to be a part of this process, saying it may be a part of the next process. You guys have said Trump has mental issues. What is this? What is this? Is this purely political drama, meaning purely theatrics, Meaning, yeah, we're going to shut the government down over a weekend where people aren't really going to be adversely affected by it, just to show our base that we actually believed in something. The third failure. It goes to the House. Nancy Pelosi, up to this point, has been pretty strong about, we're not letting this pass. We don't want to let this pass. If you're not going to include the DACA recipients, we're not going to let this pass. Gutierrez came out saying, I will denounce anybody who supports this legislation. This is an issue of values to me, and I cannot abide it. The House passed it. There was enough Democrats to fall in line to pass this bill. You know what's not a part of this bill? DACA. DACA is not a part of this bill. They passed sweeping legislation with regards to the budget. DACA is not a part of this bill. That the thing that they shut the government down over is not a part of this legislation. This is failure on levels that are fucking incomprehensible. This is The Guardian. Government shutdown ends after Congress passes funding bill. House vote at 5:30 narrowly passes bill to reopen government after funding ran out at midnight, prompting hours-long shutdown. The United States' second shutdown in 3 weeks ended on Friday after the president signed a nearly $400 billion funding bill that narrowly passed Congress only a few hours before. The Senate voted early Friday morning before sending the bill to the House, where its future was less certain. The Senate approved the legislation by a bipartisan majority of 71-28. The House eventually voted to approve the bill at 5:30 by a margin of 240 to 186. Again, DACA was not included in that. House Democrats, who had earlier threatened to derail the bill because it did not protect young immigrants, eventually gave Republicans the vote they did not have. There were 73 Democrats who voted for the legislation and 67 Republicans who voted against. Donald Trump signed a 2-year spending bill into law around 8:40 on Friday, tweeting, "Our military will now be stronger than ever before. We love and need our military and gave them everything and more. First time this has happened in a long time." They got a fucking $1 trillion budget. Their budget is nearly $1 trillion. When you add in all of the black budget projects and all this other stuff, you waste $1 trillion on the military. Waste. Yes, I said waste. The military loses money left and right. The day before 9/11, Rumsfeld comes out and says they lost $2.3 trillion. Trillion with a T. They don't keep their budget well. They waste that money. That money goes into some kind of black hole that they don't account for. They haven't audited the military in this way. I think it was 2015. There were $5 trillion unaccounted for. With a T. With a T. This is the amount of money that they waste, the amount of money that they lose, and Donald Trump is just giving them more cash. You're throwing more cash, just kind of corporate welfare at these guys. Again, what's not included in this is DACA. The point I want to make here is right here. House Democrats, who had earlier threatened to derail the bill because it did not protect young immigrants, eventually gave Republicans the votes they did not have. Republicans didn't have enough votes to pass this bill. Meaning if Democrats wanted to, they could have resisted this. They could have said, no, we're not giving you the votes unless DACA is included in this. Republicans have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the presidency. It is your job to keep the government open. This is not on us. This is not on us. Either this is included, we're not going to let these kids go to waste. We're not going to let those maniac ICE agents drag these kids out the country. If DACA is not included on this, you will not get those votes. If you want to stand for something, that's it. It is nice that Nancy Pelosi stood for a very long time in heels. That's very nice. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they passed this legislation. I don't care that she stood in heels. I don't care the dramatics. I don't care any of that stuff. Bare bones, bottom line. Did you stop them from passing DACA? Yes or no? If that answer is no, did they just overwhelm you in votes? Or did you assist them? Meaning, did the Democrats themselves give Republicans the vote they needed to pass DACA? And the answer is yes. Here's your resistance. The deal agreed to by Republicans and Democrats raised defense and non-defense spending by $300 billion and provide billions of additional dollars in disaster relief funding for areas ravaged by wildfires, hurricanes last year. It would also lift the federal debt limit until March 2019, allowing the government to take on new debt for a year. Isn't it amazing how when they want to waste money on something, the money just comes out of nowhere? Just magically appears. Just magically appears. Just shows up. It's like, oh, if we need money for this, if it's a military, there it is. Magically, it just appears. $300 billion. Do you realize that the $80 billion plan that Bernie Sanders wanted would have essentially covered college for every kid in this country? Meaning any person that wanted to go back to school for whatever particular subject, you would have been covered. $80 billion. In addition to having additional money to put on people who are in arrears in their student loans or to cover their student loan debt. Let's keep going. House Democrats left a closed-door meeting on Thursday deeply divided over a path forward. Many members do not trust Paul Ryan's assurance to bring an immigration bill to the floor and fear that they would lose their leverage to force a vote to protect the young undocumented immigrants from deportation if they gave Republicans enough votes to pass the budget measure. That's true. That's true. That's a flat fact. That's true. That's true. And the reason I said it's flat fact is because politics is based on leverage. That's it. What do you want to do and what leverage do you have to accomplish the thing that you want to do? We want to protect DACA. What leverage do you have to protect DACA? We can refuse to sign any spending bill that doesn't protect immigrants. We can do that. We do have that leverage. That leverage was not used. Let's keep going. The House Minority Leader, Nancy Pelosi, planned to oppose the bill, and despite suggesting that she would not pressure her colleagues to follow suit, appeared to be doing just that. House Democrats said Pelosi's appeal to members to vote against the budget bill if Ryan did not provide a stronger commitment on immigration, though leaders did not formally whip the vote. Pelosi had faced immense pressure from immigration activists and progressive lawmakers in her caucus to take a hard line for Dreamers, the young undocumented immigrants who could lose protections from deportations under a program that Donald Trump has rescinded. Activists have staged large-stage protests and sit-ins demanding Democrats take a stand on immigration. They shouldn't have to do that. They should not have to do that. Why do you have to push and cajole and hit and bug the shit out of Democrats to do something that they say and act? And for all intents and purposes, everything that comes out of them, you would think that they would take the position anyway. Why? Why? Democrats triggered a brief shutdown in January and relented only after securing a promise from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to allow a vote. Democrats in the House are seeking a similar commitment from Ryan. Ryan said on Thursday that he would bring an immigration bill to the floor that the president would sign. That's the key point. That's the key point. It doesn't matter anything else Ryan says. That's the key point. I will bring a bill that the president would sign. However, many Democrats consider Trump's view on immigration to be too draconian and are scared by the House not voting on a 2013 immigration bill that was approved in the Senate by a bipartisan majority. That means you have bupkis. You have bupkis. You got a promise from Mitch McConnell to bring it up. You got a promise from Paul Ryan to bring up a bill that Donald Trump would sign. You got bupkis. Who the hell knows what Donald Trump would sign? I don't know what Donald Trump would sign. Do you know what Donald Trump would sign? I have no clue. Your leverage was the budget deal. That was your leverage. How do you fail again? How do you have this many failures? So you start off in the Senate shutting down the government. Okay, that's a failure. You cave on that. You cave on that without really getting any real assurances. I think that hack, corrupt, horrible person, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, came out talking about it was a promise of momentum. A promise of momentum. Some ridiculous line that she came up with. It was so ridiculous that the person on CNN continuously asked her, like, what? What? A propensity for momentum or potential for momentum? What? What? You know you're on national TV saying this, right? Yes, I do. Okay. Just making sure. Just making sure. You fail the first time around shutting down the government. Fail the second time around when you take it off the table. And fail again. Fail again. When in the House, when you have the opportunity to block this, you don't block this. And now your leverage is off the table. You have a sweeping budget deal. and you're purely dependent on anything that Donald Trump gives you on immigration. Otherwise, nothing takes place on immigration. You understand the situation that you're in. He has you over a barrel. Your pants are down. And ultimately, you have nothing. Just the best you got. That's the best you got. Donald Trump could come up with whatever Donald Trump wants. And either you sign it or you get nothing. Meaning those kids who were born and raised here, I don't know if they were born, who were brought here through no fault of their own. And for all intents and purposes, all American. Maybe not necessarily from the technical standpoint of this kind of legal fiction. But they exude Americanism because that's all they know. That's all they can exude. Either you sign on to some draconian bill that Donald Trump conjures up, or those kids start getting dragged to other countries using the address information that the Obama administration was able to get for them signing up to DACA. Good job. Good fucking job. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Grinning Libertarian. I agree, Pat. It's a sophist attempt at semantic games. Hope for momentum. Yeah, that was it. It was fucking ridiculous. No, it was a propensity for momentum or something like that. But yeah, some ridiculous statement. Pat Hacker, why not call them migrant workers? That's what Mexican illegal immigrants is all about. But this isn't about Mexican illegal immigrants. This has nothing to do with that. We're not even on the conversation of immigration. Put that to the side. Just take it away. Take it away. We're not talking about immigration. We're talking about roughly 1 million kids who were brought here through no fault of their own. They committed no crime. They committed no crime. And yet they're going to be hauled out as if they did and thrown into countries that they have no experience. This is not the same thing as a conversation about just typical immigration and people who come here illegally. We're talking about people being penalized for something that they didn't necessarily do on their own. And again, 80% of the American public wants those kids to stay in this country. The weakness of Democrats. Oh man, it's gross. This is your resistance. It was potential for momentum. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. I knew it was something ridiculous. Potential for momentum. When you fail, that's what you say. That's what you say. It's like, hey, you guys shut down the government. And I mean, they gave you a t-shirt, but I mean, what else did you get beyond that t-shirt for shutting down the government? We got a potential for momentum. A potential for momentum? Did you have a potential for momentum before shutting the government down? Yes. So you really didn't gain that, did you? In every situation, you have a potential for momentum, right? I guess so, yeah. Then why did you say it? Because I'm a hack. I'm Deborah Wasserman-Schultz, and I'm corrupt. I'm a corrupt hack. That's why. Jamal, the bigger problem is dreamers will lose their legal right to work in March, deportation or not. Jay Scott, but this is kind of going into my point, man. This level of weakness is problematic. These guys are supposed to be the resistance. You understand that the reason they're signed up in the first place, meaning that the Trump administration has their address, location, and other stuff, is because the Obama administration signed them up to that program. Democrats abandon DACA. They abandon dreamers. There's no other way to call it. There's no other way to say it. All the political posturing, all of the drama, all of the political grandstanding. We're going to support the dreamers. We're going to shut the government down. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to hold the line. Nancy Pelosi saying we're not going to be happy if you guys do this and don't have the dreamers associated with this process. A day later, fold. Utter fold. Defeat. You had one issue. You had one main issue. DACA. Fold. You folded. It's called failure. Dude, I'm saying not deportation. They can't work after March. Deadline. We failed. No, dude, I'm agreeing with you. I agree. That's more important than deportation. But between not working after March and being kicked out the country, the deportation scares me a little bit more. But I feel you. The not working is also bad. We're on the same page. I don't disagree. Growonski, Didowski. They are handpicked to be failures for the voters. They stand up to their donors and puppet masters. D. Martin. If this is potential for momentum, I hesitate to think what a better deal will amount to. It will amount to nothing. D. Martin, it will amount to nothing. Look, you know the position of Democrats when they started saying better deal, and then their donors come out and say, shut up about class. Shut up. If you say anything else about class, I will close my purse strings. I will stop sticking money in your G-string. I will stop paying for those lap dances. I will stop all that stuff. And they shut up about a better deal. They didn't have a better deal. What they had was Trump and Russia. And that's what they're going to play into the next election cycle. Trump and Russia. It's called not having anything to stand on. Pat Hacker, I want them to have the opportunity to do what they want to do. Maybe they don't want to stay here. Pat Hacker, I feel you, man, but why all the protests? Why all the marches? Why all these people pissed off if they didn't want to stay here? Wouldn't the way to do that would be to make sure that they were intact? And once they were intact in the country, they would have the option to do whatever they wanted to do. If that was to leave, that's to leave. If that's to stay here, it's to stay here. Maybe they want to leave. What I can guarantee you is they don't want to be grabbed by some maniac working for ICE and thrown out the country. Nobody wants that shit to take place. I mean, that's a fail for anybody. White kids do not want the job Mexican immigrants perform. I know that because I have worked with Harvest. Green libertarians, I agree, Pat. Oh, you heard that one. What is it with leftists and word games? What shill thought about the word dreamers? Dude, fuck that. That can't be your argument. You know, well, what's the names that they would give Republican plans? Those Orwellian names, like Race to the Top, which was really a race to the bottom. Or they would come out with the Iraqi freedom thing. All these word games. I mean, that's not a leftist thing. That's a political thing. Get out your box. Matthew B. Squad, you're confusing corporate Democrats with people who have spines. I don't know if there's a difference in those things, dude. I mean, I don't know any Democrats that have spines. Adored Pariah, it isn't necessary hookers and lap dances at stake, but careers and money lost for departments or whatnot. That's funny. Most streamers have work permits. Why the pussy hat protests? Are you saying where are the pussy hat protesters? Green Libertarian, I'm drinking in a little uppity. Yeah, Libertarian, yeah, a little bit. A little bit. That's not a Democrat or that's not a leftist thing. That's a political thing. Think of all the stuff that Bush was naming during that time. Honestly, look back over the stuff that Bush was naming his plans. I'm drawing a blank. But I would say look back over the Bush era and look at some of the stuff that they were naming those things. That's not a leftist thing. That's not a leftist thing at all. Why the pussy hat protests? Most streamers have work permits. Yeah, Jay. Look, man. Either way, man. Whether it's taking away their work permits, whether it's deporting them out the country. Either way, it's problematic. And it is sad that they had to rely on Democrats to be the opposition for them. It's sad. Nobody should have to depend on Democrats for anything. And that's one of those things of them believing that they had some level of support in Congress. Unfortunately, they don't have anybody with spines in Congress that will represent their interests. I am sorry for the Dreamers. And I got to be honest, I don't necessarily know what deal Democrats are going to get with this point with no leverage at all. Zero leverage. So, the truth of it is, they believe that they're probably going to win in 2018. Because they believe they have good chances in 2018, they don't want to take any chances with shutting down the government this close to an election cycle. They can't predict who's going to be blamed for the shutdown. And despite having 80% approval for the Dreamers, they still can't muster up enough of a spine to say this is what we're going to stand for and we're going to make this case to the American public. They can't even make the case to the American public that the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their responsibility to keep the government open. Even that basic argument is lost. Even that basic argument is lost. Dreamers, as somebody who was born and raised in this country, you have my utmost apologies that these are the weak, feckless, sorry people that you had to rely on to be some level of opposition. I am sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Adored Pariah. If it is a person that wants to live in your country, whether they got there illegally or legally as a free country, that intent should be on them to take them in. Jamal, I'm trying to explain to Pat the laws are right and are granted to Dreamers. I'm trying to explain to Pat the laws and rights that are granted to Dreamers. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Just got the Dreamers program is ending. It was a lame program to begin with. It will be sunsetted. Pat, you might be right. But whether it's sunsetted or not, come on. Be fair. Be fair. If that was you, your mom, your dad wants, for whatever reason, a better life. However they define a better life. And they make it across the border in whatever way they make it across the border. And you're 3 years old. You're 4 years old. Say you were here for a while. Say your mom got deported at some point. You're still here. You're 14 years old. You're 15 years old. Are you going to be deported? It's no fault of your own. The only country that you've ever known was here. Now, whether you say it was a rickety program or a shitty program or anything else, at the very least, it offers some level of protection for those kids who are going to be deported to countries that they didn't and weren't familiar with. I agree with you. It was half-assed. I agree with you. It was half-assed. I agree with you. The Democrats kept this issue up to use it for political points, meaning 80% of the public don't want these kids evicted. Republicans want to kick these kids out of the country. We don't want to fix this issue. We want this issue to stay the way this issue is because either we can incentivize these people to vote for Hillary Clinton or we can hit Republicans over the head if they try to deport them out the country. It's a win-win either way from a political standpoint. The problem is that you have 800,000 kids who is not looking at this as politics. They're looking at this as, oh my God, they're going to kick us out the country. Oh my God, they're going to take our work permit. Oh my God, what is Donald Trump going to come up with? That's all I'm saying. He holds all the cards. He holds all the cards. Yeah, what if he decided to deport people named Pat Hacker? Right, just randomly. You know what? We're going to get rid of people named Pat. We're going to get rid of people named Pat. The Dreamer program was like the American Care Act, flawed from the beginning. It might have been flawed, but it did keep those kids relatively safe in the time frame. In the time frame. Yes, the program was taken to court for, the illegality of the program itself. The point I'm getting at is, I don't care what pretext you use. I don't care what reason you use to keep these kids in the country. Laws are usually written in a way that they're up for political argument. Well, the argument is, what do you need to do to keep these kids in the country? That's all. That's the bare bones of it all. If Nancy Pelosi wasn't strong enough to make that stick, then that's their failure again. That's their failure again. I mean, let's boil it down. I understand what you're saying, Pat. It wasn't necessarily the best thing in the world. But for all intents and purposes, you have 800,000 kids who are innocent in this process. And those 800,000 kids are going to be kicked out the country. What are you going to do? Shit or get off the pot? What are you going to do? If you're going to scream about identity, if you're going to scream that you're the party of Hispanics and blacks and all these other races and demographics, what happened here? What happened here? It looks like you failed and you let them down on multiple occasions, over and over and over again. And it looks to me like the leverage that you had in regards to the budget has been taken away from you. It looks to me like you shut the government down over one issue. And over again, being completely emasculated, dropping the issue from the negotiations. That's what I see. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know what deal you think you're going to get from Paul Ryan. I don't know what kind of deal you think you're going to get from Mitch McConnell. I don't know what deal you think you're going to get from Donald Trump. I imagine that you don't know either. But I imagine it's not going to be the deal that you want. And yeah, you may keep these kids in the country, but you are going to pay a price to do so. You're going to pay a heavy price to do so. All right, I am going to end this one. I have like one or two more that I wanted to do. I have forgot all about this particular one, so I'm not going to let this one tarry for too long. All right, guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.